Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, Monday edition on 97.3 ESPN. You know, you wake up some days and you think, I'm going to come in here and I got stuff to talk about. And then people like James Harden go to China and just start talking. Or at least we find out some of what they said in this case. So we'll touch on the James Harden stuff, plus a busy football weekend to get to with Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joined us here on Game Night coming up in less than 20 minutes from now. Also, I'll give you my thoughts on the Phillies weekend as big win on Friday and then just nothing on Saturday and Sunday. We'll talk about that as well. You can join the conversation. Yes, you out there listening on 97.3 can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. That is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. So, what's the latest going on here? You know, and I would love to open the show getting into the Phillies, because the Phillies and the Eagles were the biggest part of my weekend. You know, I purposely went out of my way to find places. If I was going to go out somewhere, I wanted the Phillies game and the Eagles games on the TVs. And just because the Phillies were losing, just because it was a preseason game with Ian Book and Tanner McKee in the game, didn't mean I wasn't watching those games. So, I'll get you some of that stuff in just a bit. But for those who may not fully understand what's going on with this James Harden stuff. So James Harden was in China for this Adidas summit. He has a deal with Adidas, so he was over there repping them and doing stuff with them. Well, we still don't fully know exactly what and why this topic came up, but James Harden spoke about Daryl Morey, and I'm not gonna commentate until you guys hear what Harden said, because I think hearing how he said it is just as important about what he said. Take a listen.
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
So, a couple reactions to what him saying. Number one, it's easy for James Harden to stand up in front of a bunch of people in another country and say that somebody else that is tens and hundreds of thousands of miles away is a liar. It's easy to do that when no one else is around. And this is my first big problem with this Harden Sixers stuff. All of this stuff is being played out, frankly, in a very childish manner. You know, the report comes out over the weekend that the Sixers don't want to trade Harden. They're ending trade talks and expecting to be in training camp. And that sounds all well and good in theory. But you and I both know that there's nothing simple about this situation. It doesn't matter if you're Daryl, Team Morey, or Team Harden. If we're going to go, a Twilight situation here, Team Morey, Team Harden. You know, wherever your position is, the reality is that both sides are trying to put out a certain opinion, a certain perspective on this, and I think that part of the problem is that Harden is saying this stuff, and he's not saying it in front of people who will ask legitimate questions. Again, it's easy to say something like this person's a liar when that person is nowhere near you, and when there's no one to ask you, well, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? Tell me more. Explain this. That's why, for me, I just had trouble taking Harden seriously. Not that I don't think he truly believes what he's saying. But what I'm saying is that I'm looking at James Harden. I'm looking, okay, you said he's a liar. But what did he lie about? And this gets back to my initial problem with the Harden wanting to get trade issue that I told you guys here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank. See, I talked about this weeks ago. What does James Harden really want? I think part of the problem is Harden is a guy who thinks he was done wrong by a significant other. And he's the guy who's already been through multiple divorces. Harden's the guy who gets married again and again and again. And you're almost sitting there looking at him like, at what point do you admit that you might be part of the problem? You know, if anyone's ever watched a show like Boston Legal, you know, one of the jokes in the show is that Denny Crane had been married 7-8 times by the end of that show. And part of the questioning was, it would be like, Denny, you keep saying you're in love, but you're in love, but then you get divorced. What gives, Denny? And I think the same thing I ask of Harden. James, you forced your way out of Houston. Okay, so you want to go to the Sixers in the first place, and that's why you forced your way out of Brooklyn, okay? You were married to the Rockets. You were dating, you Tinder swiped the Brooklyn Nets. You decided to stop dating them. Then you got in with the Sixers in their building, got married to them, and now you're accusing your significant other, in this case, Daryl Morey, of lying to you. At some point, first of all, Harden's got to take some responsibility for his own actions. He's not helping his situation because you don't opt in to $36 million if you have better options on the free agent market. You may think you deserve X number of dollars and this and that, but the reality is that we are all worth what someone is willing to pay us. Look, I want $1 million a year, but I don't think anyone is paying me, Josh Hennig, $1 million to sit behind this microphone or do all the things I do behind the scenes. I would like to get paid $1 million, but I don't think anyone's willing to pay me that. So I am not worth $1 million because no one will actually give it to me. James Harden doesn't understand that reality. Harden wants things, he likes things, but he gets mad when he doesn't get said things. Now, the second problem with this is Harden can force his way out of Philadelphia all he wants. But if the Sixers don't get adequate value in return for him, they're not going to trade him. And it feels like Harden doesn't understand that. I think that it is an incredible situation where this guy is literally at a point where he thinks that he doesn't need to be questioned for what he's saying. Again, I asked the question, why does he say this in China? And he doesn't say this on Twitter or Instagram or social media or in front of the national American media. I don't think the Sixers want him out contend, but they're stuck with him. I think the Sixers could have traded Harden. They would have by now. But frankly, there is a little truth that lies in between. You know, there's the old saying I learned when I was going through my phase in life where I want to go to law school and all that stuff. There's a term that's used, it's called there's a facts and the true facts. There are the facts of the information that we find to support our beliefs and arguments that substantiate and make us feel better about how we look at the world. That's James Harden. Then there's the true facts, which are the information and reality that is out there that you use to determine how you look at the world. That's Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey realizes that you have a guy who has value, and you're not trading him for a bag of basketballs, and you're not trading him for Robert Covington. On the text board, Jeff in Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, hey, Josh, all my buddies and I are tired of this hard nonsense. Could care less what happens to the Sixers. Boo Sixers. Fly, Eagles, fly. Jeff in Ocean City. Well, Jeff will talk some birds coming up in about 8 minutes from now with Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press. But I totally understand where you're coming from, Jeff. It's the idea that people are looking at Harden now as, dude, we can't take this anymore. We want some answers. We want some finale with the situation. Because guess what? Sixer fans already went through this with Ben Simmons. You already went through the whole waiting in line and waiting and waiting and waiting and finally getting to the end to get some answers. Yeah, it's not fun. And I totally understand. You could care less what happens because you're tired of hearing about it. Also, a text board 609-403-0973. Steven Ventnor chimes in and says, hey, Josh, I highly recommend that for the next couple of preseason games, you fire up 97.3 ESPN and listen to Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on the radio. I got goosebumps hearing them for the first time this season. Well, first of all, Steve, thank you for the plug for our home for Eagles football in South Jersey is 97.3 ESPN. I do when I can fire up Merrill and Mike, but, for people like me, sometimes I just need to unplug from the world, and I just want to go and sit somewhere and just breathe in the fresh air or get in a different environment and watch the game and not have to be plugged in to work. Sometimes for someone like me who so much of my life is enveloped in this job, that even the days I'm supposed to be quote unquote off, I'm typically am still working. So sometimes you don't want to hear the station, even though you're listening to the station so much of my time. So, but I totally hear what you're saying. Merrill and Mike are just incredible together. So good plug from you by there. Steven Menno goes on to say about the Phillies, I like the idea of using our 4 right-handers as starters in the postseason and bump Sanchez into a long relief mop-up role and use Ranger situationally, which he has experience doing. Strom and Hoffman for the 6th inning, Alvarado, Soto, and Sir Anthony set up Kimbrel. A couple of things there. One, Steve, I like the way you laid that out because I think that is an important part of this. If you're not going to be a team that wants to take Lorenzen, if Lorenzen keeps pitching the way he is, you can't knock him to the bullpen. So if you kick Sanchez and Ranger to the bullpen, if you have a guy like Lorenzen or Nola or Walker, or for whatever reason, they can only go 5 innings, you bring in those guys, and like you said, it's a bridge from the 6 to 7 to 8 to 9. My only question, though, is Alvarado is supposed to come back later this month. What is he going to be like heading into the postseason? Like, are we going to get the Alvarado we got last year? Or are we going to get a lesser version of him? That's my only small concern, but it's not as much of a concern because if you're kicking Ranger Suarez and Christopher Sanchez to the bullpen, as you laid out, Steven Ventnor, then Alvarado doesn't become as much of a linchpin for the bullpen. And then Steve from Ventnor's final point says, James Harden is in denial. Nobody wants him. He's a cancer at this point. Would you want James Harden as your veteran leader on a young team? I wouldn't. That's from Steve in Ventnor. Here's the thing, Steve. I don't think Harden is a cancer. I think that's going a little too far. I think Harden, like you said, that was in denial. I think he does not understand where he is in life, what his position is in life, what his role is in life, and that he may want things, like I said earlier, but it doesn't mean he's going to get them. And I think that's part of the problem with Harden. I don't think Harden understands that wanting what's reasonable in the long run. All right, coming up next, talk some football. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joins me next. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how we'll get more your text a little bit later in the hour.
Are you ready for Eagles football?
He's firing, and it is intercepted! Eagles pick it off!
We are Part 2.
And walks in for the touchdown. Beautiful execution. Beautiful.
Listen to the Philadelphia Eagles with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick all season long on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's official Eagles station.
That's Mike saying good morning. It's the best he can do right now. Yeah, not a cloud in the sky. What Mike could use is a fresh start. And Irish Spring Body Wash. The fresh scent of Irish Spring and those sensational Irish Spring suds are just the reset Mike needs. Now he's ready
to go to work.
It's Sunday. Irish Spring. When the spring hits you, you're ready. Pick up Irish Spring at Walmart today.
Hey, this is Josh from 97.3 ESPN. If your air conditioning isn't keeping you cool, or if you're worried about sky-high electric bills, I recommend you call Jenkins Plumbing and Heating today about a new system from American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning or a Mitsubishi ductless system. Take advantage of financing of up to $15,000 from South Jersey Gas or Atlantic City Electric. New AC system can save you 25 to 35% on your AC bill. Call Jenkins at 609-641-6440, online at jenkinsandsons.com.
Every business deserves a great deal. That's why, for a limited time, we're launching the Mobile Made Free event. With Comcast Business Internet, new and existing customers can get 1 year of unlimited mobile for free. Yep, you heard that right. An entire year, free. It's our best internet, powered by the next generation 10G network and with 99.9% reliability, plus 1 line of free mobile for a year. The Mobile Made Free event is happening now.
Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $49 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Plus, ask how to get up to a $600 prepaid card with a qualifying bundle. Call or go online to learn more. Offer ends 9/21/2023. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments. New 50 megabits per second internet and Security Edge customers only. Equipment, taxes, and other fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Mobile offer requires 100 megabits per second internet and new unlimited intro mobile service.
Happy 62nd birthday, Granddad.
Thanks, sweetheart.
I got you this.
A mug. Oh, thank you. What does it say? Beware, if you are 60 or older, you may be at increased risk of hospitalization from RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, compared to adults younger than 60.
Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated against RSV today. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Okay, class, our first lesson is math. 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals...
One heck of a great deal.
The math is simple at Matt Blatt Kia. Put 0 down, pay 0 interest, and make 0 payments for 90 days on every new Kia in stock. Or get up to $8,000 off MSRP on every 2023 EV6 GT in stock. Stuck in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia can get you released so you can drive your new Matt Blatt Kia with 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments for 90 days. And we finance your future, not your past. Even first-time buyers can drive with peace of mind with our exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through Cap 1. Excludes EVs. 36 months at $27.77 per thousand. To Tier 1 customers. Expires 9/5/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Hey y'all, my name is Tiara, and a little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A spicy chicken biscuit is that it has the perfect amount of spice to jumpstart my day. Whoever thought of it, thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Robert, and a little thing I love about Chick-fil-A spicy chicken biscuit is the biscuit. It reminds me of my grandma's homemade biscuit. It's always buttery and savory. Then you add the spices, instant classic.
Order the spicy chicken biscuit on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real Chick-fil-A guests paid for their testimonials.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
On Game Night 97.3 ESPN, hanging out with you. Of course, we are brought to you each and every day by Jenkins and Sons. One call does it all. Don't need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Just call 609-641-6440. If your air conditioning isn't keeping you cool, or if you're worried about sky-high electric bills, I recommend you call Jenkins about a new system from American Standard or a Mitsubishi Ductless system. Take advantage of financing of up to $15,000 from South Jersey Gas or Atlantic City Electric. A new AC system can save you 25 to 35% on your AC bill. Call Jenkins at 609-641-6440 online at jenkinsonsons.com. All right, we will take a break from the other talk, and we will get to the football as promised. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press is back with us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, and he joins us on the Elite Acura hotline. Rob, welcome back in. How was your weekend?
What's going on, Josh? It was preseason football filled. Not really. There's only so much preseason football I can watch at this point. Like, I know you're supposed to be so excited about football's back, and I cover the NFL. I'm like, man, it's rough watching backups and third string and fourth string guys. But hey, it's football.
Well, I want to ask you this because I am totally starting with a selfish question here, because one of my favorite topics, I keep trying to find information on this where I can, and almost nobody's talking about it. It's that QB competition down in Tampa between Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Rob, you're down there. I want to get your vibe on this because I thought Baker looked way better than Kyle Trask in that first game, and I understand it's only one game, but it just, to me, is an example why one guy was the first overall pick and the other guy is, well, Kyle Trask.
Yeah, and I think ultimately you don't sign Baker Mayfield with, I wouldn't say baggage, but some of the things that he's gone through, he's not the prospect he obviously once was as a number one pick. I don't think they signed him with the intent of having him be the backup. I think he came in to Tampa as someone who had to lose that starting job. And in the preseason game against Pittsburgh, I think he was 8 of 9. Like, I don't care too much about stats, but you look at 8 out of 9, and he had a nice touchdown pass there, and Kyle Trask threw a pick, and he's clearly ahead of him at this point. Kyle Trask may or may not be the quarterback of the future for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He got to sit behind and learn from Tom Brady. Doesn't mean he's going to be anything remotely close to a viable NFL starting quarterback. I think what Baker Mayfield was able to do after he left Carolina last year, you remember he signed with the Rams, wasn't it like two days later, played on a Thursday night game and played well in that game and kind of got rejuvenated in Sean McVay's offense. And there's some similarities in Tampa with their new offensive coordinator who came over from Seattle. I think it's his job to lose, and he didn't do anything in the first preseason game to lose it. Now Kyle Trask will get an opportunity to start this game this coming week, and I think Baker will come off the bench for that one. And it's probably, in my view, just a matter of want to be fair, give both guys an opportunity. But unless Baker goes out there and stinks up the joint, not necessarily in practices, but in the joint practices, Josh, I wrote about this last week, how important those joint practices are for a lot of teams. More teams are doing them now. I think it was 23 last year, 27 teams are doing joint practices. 6 did two sets of them. 12 or 13 are doing 2 sets of them this year. So that's where the starters are really getting their reps. So I don't think Mayfield can lose the job if he goes 4 for 14 with 2 picks, but it depends on what he's doing in practice and in joint practices. And as of now, I haven't seen anything yet that'll tell me he won't be that guy going into the season.
If Baker is the starter, how does that impact Rob Maaddi's projections for the NFC South, which arguably might be, if not the worst, one of the worst divisions in all the NFL this year?
Reminds me a little bit of the NFC East from, 2020, right? When Washington won at 7-9. I think going into the season, it's the Saints got the best quarterback in Derek Carr. Bryce Young obviously could end up being a superstar at some point. He can't get knocked around like he did the other day in the first preseason game. They're going to have to protect him better. But I think going into the season, the Saints are the team to beat in the NFC South. And they certainly got there with Derek Carr and some of the improvements that they've been able to make. And I think they're going to be the front runner. But Josh, this is a division where you can look at it and go end of the season, another 8-9 team. They could win it at 8-9. They can win it at 9-8. The last place team may not be that far off. I think these all 4 teams can go in there. Like you look at Atlanta and led by Desmond Ridder, and they're going to give him every opportunity to be the starter. And Tampa insists that, oh, we're still a good team, even though we lost Tom Brady. And Carolina's got some. I love their coaching with Frank Reich, and Bryce Young comes in there, and they got a decent defense too. I think all 4 teams could be within 3 games of each other. Like you could be looking at 7 and 10 in last place, and 9 and 8 winning the division, or 10 and 7. I don't even know if the Saints can get to 10 wins. But it's going to be close, and it'll be like, I'll be surprised if the NFC South winner isn't the 4th seed. And I will be shocked if 2 teams from the NFC South found their way to make the playoffs. Like, I don't think 2 teams will have winning records in the NFC South.
You mentioned the NFC East. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joining us on the Elite Acura Hotline here on 97.3 ESPN. If only 1 team comes from the South, we saw 3 come from the NFC East last year, but will we see 3 this year? I'm starting to get some vibes, Rob, that I don't know if you're getting 3 again this year, because you look around the NFC, it feels like that. I know the NFC is not as deep as the AFC, but it feels like everyone is kind of like closer together, at least in the NFC.
I agree. I think it's going to be 2 teams definitely out of the NFC, barring a catastrophic injury to Dallas or Philadelphia. If the Eagles lose Jalen Hurts, and I know they got a nice backup in Marcus Mariota, if the Cowboys lose Dak Prescott, or they have significant other losses, other than that, I think those 2 are going to be 1st and 2nd, neck and neck all the way till the end of the season. I think the Giants take a step back a little bit. I'm not sold on Danny Dimes. I haven't been. I certainly don't think he's a $40 million quarterback. I don't think he's a $20 million quarterback. And I think this might be the year where you saw them take a leap. Brian Dable's first season, they get into the playoffs. He wins the AP Coach of the Year. I thought it should have been Doug Peterson. I don't know why what he did with the Giants was more impressive than what Doug somehow did with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but that's last year's issue. I think they can take a step back. I think Washington can compete. The 2 of those teams can compete in that 8-9 win range. But then you look around the landscape of the NFC. If the Lions are going to win the North, if they're going to, they're the team that everyone's looking at as being the North champion and the team that's going to take a giant leap and a surprise potential Super Bowl contender. If it's going to be the Lions, I still think the Bears and the Packers are going to be competitive. I think the Vikings are certainly going to be competitive, potential borderline playoff team. I know they get there last year and they had a ton of wins, and they lost to the Giants. And then you look at the West. The Rams, I think, are going to be better. Not necessarily a playoff team, but better. 49ers are right there with the Cowboys and Eagles. Seattle's a playoff team from last year that there's no reason to think they're going to – I don't think they're going to take a step back like I do with the Giants. So if I had to put a number on the NFC East, I'm going 2 teams. I think it's the conference is too competitive, and the division is too competitive for 3 teams to make it again. And by that, I mean, if the division teams are beating each other up, the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Giants and the Commanders, it's going to be harder to get 3 teams there. And that's just the way I'm looking at it right now. As we get closer and the season starts and somebody can jump out, so things can change. But to answer your question, yeah, I look at 2, not 3 for sure this time.
You mentioned Jalen Hurts. I want to hit on him for a moment with you, because this guy was the MVP runner-up last year. And, he keeps talking about, I don't want to do the quarterback show. I want the main thing to be the main thing. He keeps talking about how, we're trying to do what we did last year but be better. Well, how much better can he be, Rob? Because people like me liked Jalen Hurts since he was in college. I liked him being drafted by the Eagles, but maybe my opinion's a little skewed. Maybe my way of looking at this guy has got some rose-colored glasses. So what does Rob Maaddi think what Jalen Hurts can do this year? What is a realistic expectation?
I actually think, Josh, he can take another step forward. I've heard this often. You hear it from Nick Sirianni. You hear it from other people in that building. He has yet to reach his ceiling. I agree. I'm not sure. Like, I didn't expect Jalen to take that jump from where he did in year 2 to year 3 to become an MVP runner-up, go on and have a tremendous Super Bowl game. They fall short, obviously. We know what happened there. But I didn't expect that. But once he did that, once we saw, and then you look at the moves that they make in the offseason, the offensive line's still strong. He's got weapons around him. I know they lose Miles Sanders, but they bring in DeAndre Swift. They bring in Rashad Penny. I still think the offense is set up to have a ton of success. And I see Jalen as a guy who, we talk about his work ethic, his leadership ability, his coachability, all that stuff. There is no reason to think, Josh, that Jalen is going to take a step back. I've had this conversation with a lot of different people in various interviews. Oh, do you think Jalen, that last year was it, and he's going to have a little bit of a setback? I think no. Rather than a setback, I think he's just as likely to have another step up. And what does that look like, right? What does it look like if Jalen Hurts does he go from MVP runner-up to MVP? Not necessarily. He may not even be MVP runner-up, but yet he can have a better all-around season. He can improve some of the things that he does in the pocket. Maybe he doesn't run as much and he throws more. Maybe he has more passing touchdowns, fewer rushing touchdowns. Maybe his passing efficiency increases. There's things that he can do within his game. Now, when you ask him, he won't point out specifics. He just says, I want to be better all around, understandably so. But there are certain things within the passing, the command of the offense, the understanding of what the defense is going to do. Of course, we know they got a new offensive coordinator in Brian Johnson this year. I still think there are things that Jalen Hurts is working on that he feels can take his game to another level. He's not there yet, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has an even better all-around season. May not necessarily reflect in the numbers and the accolades, but as a quarterback progressing.
The big news of the day for the NFC East was not in Philadelphia, it was down in Dallas. Zach Martin, he's there. He lost about $1 million in fines, Rob, but he's going to make $9 million on the back end, basically. So looks like they finally got the deal done. And frankly, I'm surprised that he didn't get the deal done sooner, because if you care about winning as much as Jerry Jones says he does, and Mike McCarthy, it's all about Dak. This is Dak's time to shine, and we're going to run the ball. Well, you need the best right guard in the NFL. So, I mean, I know it's August 14th. They didn't miss any significant time, but I'm just surprised it took this long for them to figure this out.
I agree. And there was never really a concern that it was going to stretch longer. Like, you look also Nick Bosa's holdout. I don't think that's going to impact this season. But whenever he gets his deal done, just like Zach just got his deal done, they're still going to be getting in shape, getting in football shape. No matter what you're doing outside and everything else, you still got to get in, get hit, get knocked around, do all that stuff. So, yeah, and then you look at the Cowboys today, right? They bring in Zach Martin. They get that deal done. They lose Ezekiel Elliott. Now, of course, they had 4 or 5 months to sign him. I always thought he was going to end up going back there at some point. I know his relationship with Dak Prescott is so close that I thought that they were going to find a way to get it done with Zeke Elliott, to be that kind of insurance policy, somebody to go with Tony Pollard. But they didn't make that happen. The Patriots have agreed on a deal with him, a 1-year deal, $4 million, can go up to $6 million. And I think that's a little bit of a loss for the Cowboys, because he's familiar with the offense. Suppose Pollard gets dinged up. What are you going to do? Bring in a Leonard Fournette, bring in someone else? Of course, obviously there's other players out there at the running back position, and they're not there yet. They're counting on Tony Pollard, but I think that's just a little bit of a ding when Dak loses one of his guys. I thought all along at some point they were going to make him happy, make that deal happen. It's not a ton of money, but it didn't. And Zeke's going to the Patriots. Cowboys get their big, strong offensive line fortified. Now they got to make sure they got enough guys behind them running the football.
You mentioned Zeke going to the Patriots. I was going to hit on that, but I'll bring it up real quick. I saw him get that haircut. Maybe I'm reading too much into a picture, Rob. Maybe Zeke going to the Patriots is the best thing that could happen to him, because Zeke was an elite player with a disciplinarian head coach at Ohio State, and Urban Meyer. And the stories about Urban Meyer being a psycho, the way he ran his program at Ohio State, are infamous. Maybe he needs a little disciplinarian from Bill Belichick, maybe getting on his rear a little bit, and maybe pushing him to maybe be a good player again. I don't know if he'll ever be a great player, but I think he still has some talent in that body.
Yeah, so the Patriot way has worked out for some guys over the years, right? And it's helped them. Bill has certainly not been afraid to bring in guys who have had larger than life personalities. Randy Moss, Ocho Cinco at one point they've brought in. So Bill's not too. He's not going to shy away from it. Now, I wouldn't put Zeke in either of their categories, but he can be somewhat aloof, a different kind of guy. I don't know how much that is going to give him a step back. Like when you look at his numbers, Josh, he's gone down in average yards per game each year of his career, over 100 his rookie year, and consistently gone down to wherever he was last year at 58. Now, can he run for 1,000 yards in a 17-game season if he got the ball enough and carried it at 3.8 clip? I'll never forget what Buddy Ryan once said about Ernest Jackson. He ran for 1,000 yards, and Buddy Ryan cut him, and they said, "Why'd you cut him?" He said, "Because you give him the ball 1,000 times, he's going to run for 1,000 yards." So what's Zeke Elliott got left? I think he's got enough to be somebody that can help a team as a complimentary back, as someone who can carry the ball 10 to 12 times a game. I don't know how much the Patriot way can rejuvenate his career and get him back to being a Pro Bowl caliber player. I think those days are past for Zeke Elliott, and now he's at that stage of his career where he's trying to be a LeGarrette Blount or somebody who can hook on with a winning team. Now, the Patriots certainly aren't a Super Bowl contender, so I don't think things will end up for him the way they did with LeGarrette when he won a title there, came to Philly and won a title with the Eagles.
Rob, a couple more before I let you go, because you mentioned about here in Philadelphia with LeGarrette Blount. Something I know is close to you is that baseball you covered for many years here in Philadelphia, and you tweeted about at Rob Maaddi on Twitter about Michael Lorenzen's no-hitter and how you covered Kevin Millwood and Roy Halladay no-hitters. So for you, what was your takeaway for, a guy in Lorenzen that, frankly, most people had no idea who he was, the average fan, until the Phillies acquired him. And now in his second start in Philadelphia, his first at home, he goes out and has a no-hitter in front of those fans.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing, special thing, right? I got to cover 3, actually. I forgot about Josh Beckett's because it was against the Phillies, and he was, I think, with the Dodgers when he threw a no-hitter. So it's when you sit through that and you cover that and the intensity of that, and you're watching that, like it's such a special thing. And for the Phillies to have 14 in the history of the franchise, to see Michael Lorenzen do it, to see his wife with their daughter and his mom, the way they were reacting. Like, I caught on to that game. I was following it on my phone and didn't even realize until like the 5th or 6th inning. Then I got home for the last 6 outs, and I turn it on and I'm watching. One of my daughters is in the kitchen, and my wife is on the couch, and I'm trying to explain to them the magnitude of this. They won't even, Josh, they wouldn't even look up. I'm recording on video on my phone, like watching this. I'm like, Michael Lorenzen, he's going for a no-hitter, and they won't even look up. They're like, can you just keep quiet? And I'm screaming and shouting in the background. I'm like, what's going on here? And they couldn't care any less that he was doing it. I thought it was a beautiful thing to see in Philly. And Michael's one of those guys, actually, quick story for you. I met him when he was on the Reds, and I knew he was like a faith on the field show type candidate. So I connected with him about his faith. He gave me his number, and I never did quite have him on the show for whatever reason. Never worked out. After that, I looked at my phone, and I noticed that the last time I texted him was when he gave me his number just to say, here, I got it. Thank you. So I gave him a shout after that, because I'm sure you saw the post-game interview and how he gave God all the glory and said, I had God's grace today. And it was tremendous. It was awesome to see that. And great job by T-Mac and John Kruk and Larry Anderson and Scott Fransky calling that game. It was beautiful. And it's so awesome to see. I'm disappointed. I'm like looking down. I'm like, oh, there's no game today. There's no Phillies game today.
No,
so, all right,
no game today.
No, it gives him, right? Remember, he gets an extra day rest. He can end up with 8 days rest with the 6-man rotation or whatever it is.
Yeah, he's going to end up with 8. Wheeler's going to end up with 7, and Wheeler's already complaining about having 7 days off, apparently.
Is
so,
he? What about Nola? He needs that. He can use an extra day or 2.
Hey, if you go by Baseball Reference, Nola's stats are better when he has 6 or more days rest than when he has 5 or less. So,
okay.
Read into that what you will. You mentioned Faith on the Field, which can be heard Saturdays and Sundays right here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, you are the host of that. And speaking of that, you set me up perfectly to ask you this question. I know that you have a special event with Brian Dawkins coming up next month for a Faith on the Field Live. Yeah, and I appreciate you doing that. It's September 16. It's going to be in South Jersey. So if you're listening, I know you're in the AC area, not too far in Sewell, New Jersey at Fellowship Bible Church. We still have limited tickets available. Brian Dawkins, I've done a few of these already with B-Dawk. We did one earlier this summer in June, and this is going to be an awesome opportunity. If you haven't been able to, I'm sure people have heard Brian speak in front of the cameras in his Hall of Fame speech and all that. But then when you get him in this setting, you get him in this environment, he doesn't disappoint. That passion, that fire that he brought to the field that made him such a fierce, ferocious hitter, a Hall of Fame player, he brings that to his speaking engagement. So it's something that you certainly won't want to miss. There are limited opportunities for a VIP meet and greet, some food, a chance to take a picture, tell Doc how awesome he was. It's faithonthefieldshow.com/Dawkins, or is it /, whatever, faithonthefieldshow.com, or go to any of it's right on our homepage, any of my social media. We've been posting about it. So it's going to be really cool. Yeah, it's faithonthefield.com /. Is that /? faithonthefieldshow.com /Dawkins. Thanks, Josh. I should know these things. I'm here to help. That's what I'm here for. So, well, hopefully we can get you out to this one. It's a little closer to you. So it definitely is a lot closer than the last one for me. That's for sure. That was a hike. Yeah, that was. He's Rob Maaddi at Rob Maaddi on Twitter. Check out him for all of his Faith on the Field coverage, NFL coverage for the Associated Press, and he joined us today on the Elite Acura Hotline. Rob, great stuff as always. We'll talk soon. Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you, buddy. And of course, Rob Maaddi's appearance on the Elite Acura Hotline. Visit Elite Acura during the summer performance event located on Route 73 North in Mapleshade, online at eliteacura.com. Back to the text board next, 609-403-0973. That's the text board, and you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. One more segment of the hour coming up next.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2023 preseason Thursday night, hosting the Cleveland Browns at the Link.
And walks in for the touchdown.
Eagles radio network coverage begins at 6:30 with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 7:30. This is the play-by-play home for Philadelphia Eagles football. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's official Eagles station.
A Rottweiler named Whiskey, with hours to live, brought back to full health. A terrier named Snoopy, paralyzed in all 4 legs, who ran and played again within months. These dogs are known as Marty's Miracles. Dogs brought back to health by Dr. Marty Goldstein.
I've helped countless dogs thrive with one simple concept. Your dog needs a high-meat diet, similar to what their ancestors ate in the wild.
Called the Miracle Worker by Forbes magazine, he's now created a premium dog food for you called Nature's Blend. It's the easiest way to support your dog's easy digestion, nourished skin, playful energy, and most importantly, their healthy, full life. For a limited time, save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get free premium dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511.
I'm so confident your dog will love it. Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee.
All pets are unique. Your pet's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, this is Josh from 97.3 ESPN. If your air conditioning isn't keeping you cool, or if you're worried about sky-high electric bills, I recommend you call Jenkins Plumbing and Heating today about a new system from American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, or a Mitsubishi ductless system. Take advantage of financing of up to $15,000 from South Jersey Gas or Atlantic City Electric. New AC system can save you 25 to 35% on your AC bill. Call Jenkins at 609-641-6440, online at jenkinsandsons.com.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Hey, it's Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow exploring exciting destinations throughout New Jersey, sponsored by the New Jersey Division of Travel and Tourism. This week, we're heading south to an island paradise where the beaches are wide and clean and completely free. It's Wildwood. Relax on the beach all day and have fun on the boardwalk all night with games, arcades, and great rides at Maury's Piers. The Wildwoods host a ton of festivals, events, and parades. Oh, and watch the tram car, please. Find your perfect New Jersey getaway with ideas and a free travel guide at visitnj.org.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Turn your home into restricted airspace. Tell incoming flights you want them diverted. The new Raid Essentials light trap plugs into the wall and uses light to attract, then trap flying insects like fruit flies and mosquitoes. Its 24/7 continuous attraction provides insecticide-free protection that's people and pet friendly. Consider air service interrupted. New Raid Essentials light trap. Insecticide-free protection.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
AutoZone is more than a parts store. It's where we help you solve problems like, sorry I'm late, my battery died. And
I need a jump again.
At America's #1 battery destination, you can find the right battery at the right price with options starting at only $89.99. And we offer free battery testing and charging whenever you need it. Get the parts and help you need to get the job done right at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Ocean Casino Resort is the ultimate fantasy draft party spot. Go for the bragging rights this fantasy football season and plan your draft party at Top Golf. Each party receives a dedicated VIP draft space or private bay at Top Golf for up to 4 hours, an ocean draft board, swag bag, championship trophy, and more. Your fantasy football season starts here at Ocean Casino Resort. For more details, visit theoceanac.com. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. Let's go! Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
If you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released. Matt Blatt Nissan.com. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, final segment of the Power Hour known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Just following up with something Rob and I talked about there about Jalen Hurts. And, for people who believed in what Jalen Hurts could be from the beginning, I think a lot of people like myself saw what he could be. And it goes back to my love of college football. Anyone who listened to me long enough on 97.3 ESPN, first of all, thank you for listening. If you've listened to me this long, whether it was I was on, Sports Bash Saturdays for years, or hanging with Hendricks and Hennig on Monday nights, or when I was hosting the warm-up, and now game night here on 97.3 ESPN. You know about my love for college football, and a lot of my views on how I think guys are going to play out is built on watching them in college. You know, that's why, for example, I was incredibly impressed with how Tanner McKee played on Saturday night. He showed a level of poise I didn't see a lot of at Stanford. There were teams that he was really rough around the edges. So for him to perform the way he did in that environment on Saturday night, I thought was very, very cool to see. But a guy like Jalen Hurts, I saw his development in college. You don't go from being the number one mobile quarterback recruit at Alabama, where you went initially, then transfer to Oklahoma, and then develop into this high-level passing offense guy as he was Oklahoma, and be the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy. This guy has now been the runner-up for the Heisman Trophy, and he has now been the runner-up for the NFL MVP. And that year in college, the final year, I should say, at Oklahoma, that was the moment I really realized that this guy's legit. Because I looked at him in college and I said, this guy literally went from being somebody people were concerned about throwing the ball to them being sixth in all college football in completion percentage. He was eighth in all of college football that year in passing yards. To me, you don't put up those kind of numbers in the same offense that landed Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray as number one overall picks, that now got Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams and Kyler Murray are both Heisman Trophy winners because they played in that Lincoln Riley offense. Caleb Williams is projected to be a top overall pick because of his time in Oklahoma and now at USC. And you translate that to Jalen Hurts. I think the problem is that there was a narrative created about him that gets created about a lot of athletes, which is people don't always watch the player play. They just hear people or see people talk about a guy and come up with a assumption or a perspective on a guy. And a lot of times those thoughts and those perspectives are, frankly, completely false. It is utterly insane to me that in 2023, there are still people who have questions about Jalen Hurts. Look, if you want to tell me it was 1 year, that's fine. If you want to tell me you need to see it more often than just one time, 1 year, that's fine. But don't tell me that you need to see more from him. At the end of the day, we live in a world where people said that Ulysses Grant was too much of an idiot to win the Civil War. But yet he took down every guy who finished ahead of him in his classes at West Point, and he won the war. Jalen Hurts has been told by everyone his entire life, your arm isn't good enough, you can't do this, you can't do that. And he just goes out there and does it. Maybe it's about time we start judging people on their merit instead of these predisposed opinions that, frankly, seem to come from people who are really not that smart. All right. I'm Josh Hennig. This is GameNight. I have a personal day off tomorrow, and I'll be back on Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Have a great night, everybody.
South Jersey business owners, when Eagles football returns to the airwaves this season, don't miss Now, make sure your business is a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick on 97.3 ESPN. Touchdown! Every week, the NFL's most passionate fan base flocks to 97.3 ESPN Radio to listen to their favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Advertising with the Eagles can help your business connect with the consumers you are trying to reach. 97.3 ESPN is the most listened to sports source in all of South Jersey. That's what makes 97.3 ESPN such a powerful station for your business's message. So this Eagles season, don't have your business sitting on the sidelines. Be a part of the Philadelphia Eagles season on 97.3 ESPN. To be a part of the Eagles season, call Market President Mike Rubel at 609-910-5249.